At 45, Jelly Roll's wife, Bunny XO, walked into a routine checkup, but left in tears after a life-altering diagnosis shattered their world. What followed tested their love, faith, and will to survive. In the face of fear, they didn't fall apart. They grew stronger. This isn't just a story about a diagnosis. It's about resilience, devotion, and rediscovering what truly matters. If you've ever faced pain, fear, or doubt, their journey will move you deeply. Stay with us, because what they overcame may just inspire your own comeback. This is a story of heartbreak, hope, and the power of second chances. Jason DeFord, better known as Jelly Roll, was raised in Antioch, Tennessee, a working-class neighborhood on the outskirts of Nashville. His childhood was far from picture-perfect. His father was a meat salesman and underground bookie. His mother battled mental illness and addiction. By 14, he was already behind bars. He racked up nearly 40 arrests before age 25. But even behind bars, Jelly Roll never let go of music. He wrote verses in his cell, turned pain into lyrics, and began building a dream most people would have called impossible. When he was released, he discovered he had a daughter, Bailey. She was 2 years old. Meeting her for the first time was life-changing. He hustled harder, started selling mixtapes from his car, collaborated with southern rap names like Lil White and Tech 9, released underground hits like Pop Another Pill and Whiskey, Weed, and Waffle House. When Waffle House sued him, he slapped a cease and desist sticker on the cover and renamed it Whiskey, Weed, and Women. That was Jelly, always unapologetically himself. But it wasn't just about hip-hop anymore. Over the years, his music began to evolve, blending country, rock, and gospel into something uniquely his own. And in 2021, he stepped onto one of music's holiest stages, the Grand Ole Opry. A year later, he hit #1 on rock radio with Dead Man Walking. Then came Son of a Sinner, his first country radio #1. The world was finally listening. Behind the scenes, something else was changing, something powerful. He had met Bunny XO, real name Alyssa DeFord, a woman as unfiltered and battle-tested as he was. They met backstage in Nashville, introduced by mutual friends. What started as a casual connection quickly turned into something real. Bunny had her own story. Raised in Las Vegas in a dysfunctional household, she fought through abuse, self-doubt, and poverty. She worked as a dancer, modeled, acted, and eventually found her true voice through her podcast, The Dumb Blonde Show. It wasn't just gossip or fluff. It was honest talk about trauma, growth, healing, and survival. They were kindred spirits, two damaged souls who refused to quit. In 2016, they got married in true Jelly and Bunny fashion. No glam, just vows at a courthouse in Vegas. Their bond wasn't built on fame or fairy tales. It was built on late nights, shared pain, and raw honesty. But life didn't get easier. Bunny struggled with fertility and faced multiple ectopic pregnancies. She shared the agony with her fans, the feeling of loss, fear, and wondering if motherhood would ever happen for her. Jelly was fighting his own war, trying to stay clean, find balance, and stay grounded amid rising fame. Through it all, they leaned on each other. Bunny stepped in as a bonus mom to Jelly's daughter, Bailey. She embraced the role wholeheartedly. Jelly credits her with giving him stability, motivation, and a reason to become a better man. As his music reached new heights, Jelly never forgot where he came from. He donated over $200,000 to build a recording studio inside the Juvenile Detention Center, where he once served time. He appeared before the U.S. Senate, testifying in support of legislation to combat the fentanyl epidemic. He said, "I was the problem. Now I want to be part of the solution." In 2024, he performed on Saturday Night Live, collaborated with Eminem and Snoop Dogg, and even voiced a track for the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 soundtrack. He wasn't just succeeding, he was rewriting the narrative of who he was. But just when things seemed stable, the bottom dropped again. In August 2024, Bunny began experiencing relentless headaches. She went in for a precautionary MRI. The diagnosis? Possible brain aneurysm. It was her worst fear come true. She broke down. "I cried for 3 days. I couldn't sleep. I was sure I was dying," she revealed on her podcast. The stress was unbearable. Jelly stayed strong beside her, but later admitted it was the scariest thing we've ever faced. They sought second and third opinions. Then came the twist no one expected. The diagnosis was wrong. After days of sleepless nights, fear, and emotional breakdowns, Bunny XO finally heard the words that changed everything. It was a misdiagnosis. No aneurysm, no immediate danger, no need for surgery. The supposed life-threatening condition was, in fact, a harmless variation in a blood vessel. The wave of relief that followed was almost too much to process. They had been preparing for the worst, for a future without her, for goodbye. Now they had a second chance, but as the relief settled in, a new wave hit, emotional whiplash. I felt grateful, but also confused and angry, Bunny later admitted. We lived with death over our heads for days. That terrifying experience shook them to the core. It was a brutal reminder that everything can change in a heartbeat. It realigned their priorities. Health, love, and family suddenly felt more urgent than ever, and it reignited a dream they had nearly let go of, becoming parents together. They began exploring every path possible: IVF, surrogacy, even adoption. They were done waiting for the perfect time. They realized the perfect time was now, and they weren't going to let fear or past trauma stop them from building the future they still believed in. At the same time, Bunny launched a transformation of her own, one not just about weight loss, but reclaiming control over her body, her health, and her future. Having battled with weight issues for years and once weighing over 500 pounds, Bunny knew the road would be tough, but she committed. She began walking 2 to 3 miles a day, several times a week. She sat in the sauna, she plunged into cold water, she cut out foods that didn't serve her and followed a high-protein diet. Slowly but surely, her body changed. She lost nearly 200 pounds. But more than that, she gained confidence, energy, and hope. She was honest about the ups and downs. The weight loss medication helped, but it came with harsh side effects. Still, she pressed on, motivated by a deeply personal goal: to one day skydive in Sweden with Jelly Roll, a dream that once felt impossible, now within reach. While Bunny battled physically and emotionally, Jelly Roll kept fighting on another front, for others. In 2024, he returned to Capitol Hill and testified before Congress again. I hurt people. Now I want to help stop it. He kept making music. He kept showing up for fans, for kids in detention centers, for people in recovery, for those just trying to hold on. And when internet trolls called him a Satanist after performing a tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, he didn't flinch. I'm a man of faith, he said. I speak one name, and Satan flees. Through it all, they stayed grounded. Jelly Roll and Bunny XO, flawed, open, and fiercely loyal, never stopped showing up, not just for themselves, but for anyone out there who's ever felt broken, unworthy, or beyond saving. Because if they could rise from that darkness, maybe you can too. So next time you see a viral clip of Jelly Roll crying on stage, or Bunny XO laughing through tears on her podcast, remember what it took to get there. They're not just surviving, they're thriving, and they're taking everyone who believes in second chances with them. If this story touched you, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Thanks for watching.